Hello and welcome to Kognito Key. Today, we're going to dive into a really cool story, a groundbreaking experiment that basically turned a major rule of biology on its head. And it all started with a simple plant virus holding a pretty big secret.
So let's just jump right in with a big question, one that really sets the stage for everything. Is DNA really the only blueprint for life? For the longest time, the answer to that question seemed super simple. In the world of biology, there was this dogma, an undisputed rule that was basically the foundation of everything. And that rule, it was really simple. DNA carries the code of life. That's it. It was the master molecule, the one and only holder of all our genetic information. End of story. Every textbook said so, and all the experiments seem to back it up. So you can imagine this created a huge wall for anyone who even dared to think differently. It was incredibly difficult for scientists like Fraenkel-Conrat to come along and suggest, hey, maybe RNA can do it too. That idea, it was just so radical back then. Okay, so to challenge a big idea like that, our story needed a hero, or maybe an accomplice. And it came from a very unlikely place, a tiny, unassuming virus. So let me introduce you to the Tobacco Mosaic Virus, or TMV for short. It's this little plant virus that infects tobacco plants, and it causes this weird mosaic-like pattern on their leaves. Yeah, a total pain for farmers, but for scientists, it turned out to be an absolute goldmine. See, the TMV is super simple. It's basically just a protein coat, like a little shell, with a single strand of RNA coiled up inside. But the really important part is what isn't there. There's no DNA at all. Now, for a virus to make copies of itself, it needs instructions, right? So if there was no DNA, well, that led to a really interesting question. Could the RNA be the one calling the shots? And that was the key clue. And this is where things get really clever. Fraenkel-Conrat and his team designed this just brilliant experiment. You could almost call it the great component swap. It was the perfect way to solve this puzzle. Okay, so back in 1957, here's what they did. It's so elegant. They took two different strains of the virus, we'll just call them type A and type B. They figured out how to gently pull them apart, separating the protein codes from the RNA. Then, here's the masterstroke. They created a hybrid virus. And then they put this new hybrid onto a healthy tobacco leaf to see what would happen. So just to make sure we're all on the same page about this new hybrid, they took the protein shell from virus A and put the RNA instructions from virus B inside it. It's like putting the engine of one car into the body of another. This whole mix and match plan was the key to figuring out which part actually held the genetic code. And that led to the big million-dollar question, right? When this new Franken-virus starts replicating, which blueprint is it going to follow? The one from the protein shell, strain A, or the one from the RNA inside, strain B? All right, and this is the moment of truth. The results came in, and they were astonishing. They pointed to one thing, and one thing only. The RNA was the blueprint. The answer couldn't have been clearer. The scientific paper says the new viruses were, and I quote, identical to the parental type from which the RNA had been isolated. So what does that mean? It means that even though the virus had the coat from virus A, all the new baby viruses it produced were perfect copies of virus B. The RNA's instructions had completely taken over. So think about that. The virus was wearing a strain A coat, but it produced only strain B viruses. The verdict was in, loud and clear. It's the RNA that holds the genetic code. Now, a discovery like this, it doesn't just answer one little question. It completely rewrites the rule book for biology. So let's talk about why this was such a huge deal. So, what are the big takeaways here? Well, for starters, it proved that RNA can be the genetic material, at least in some viruses. It showed that the protein coat is really just a protective shell. It's the RNA inside that's calling all the shots. This just blew the doors wide open for virology and genetics. It didn't mean DNA wasn't important, of course, but it proved that DNA wasn't the only one in charge. And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. If a simple little virus, this tiny biological machine, could completely change a fundamental rule of biology, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other huge discoveries are out there, just waiting for us to find them? Hey, thanks so much for joining us here on Kognito Key. If you thought this story was as cool as I did, please hit that like button, share it with a friend who loves science, and of course, subscribe for more explainers on the amazing stories that shape our understanding of the world.